With the most recent reveal of what the new Zombies mode for Modern Warfare 3 is going to look like, it really got me thinking about the idea around what it means to have characters in the world of COD Zombies. Even if you are a Zombies player who is more casual than you are a regular hardcore player, or even somebody who may play solo versus playing with 3 other people, you can't deny that characters bring a form of life to this mode in Call of Duty. Characters like your Primus crew of Dempsey, Nikolai, Takeo, and Richtofen, the mobsters from Mob of the Dead, the crew from the map 5, or any of the other different crews that we've seen in the last however many years of COD Zombies. Even if there wasn't a story or Easter egg to the maps like there wasn't in World at War, for example, you still had that Ultimus crew of characters to really invoke the vibe of the map and make it fun. Even to that point, while they were fighting Nazi zombies, you still also had this diverse group of characters from different backgrounds of the war. Dempsey from the Americans, Nikolai from the Russians, Richtofen from the Germans, and then Takeo from the Japanese. This is also something that I find nowadays to be uniquely fun about even some of the other crews that we've seen, like the Victus or Transit crew as they go by, for example. Stuhlinger was a very paranoid guy who was acting as like a conspiracy theorist type person and ventured off into areas of cannibalism according to the lore of his character. Marlton was at a nuclear testing site in Nevada before the apocalypse came about, and in a way, as you can tell by his appearance, really comes off as the nerdy guy of the crew. Russman was a guy who worked for a government agency with the intent on preventing undead outbreaks before the apocalypse, and comes off as someone who feels more religious if you read into his personality. Then you had Misty, who personality-wise is more of a tomboy type character who thinks very highly of herself, and also at the time, before the apocalypse, was more of a farm girl, and of course, you could easily see that just by seeing how she carries herself. So with a crew like that, you have such big differences and diverse personalities that even if at times some people might have found them annoying, you still had to appreciate just how different they were. Again, you get this with other crews as well. I think the Shadows of Evil crew in my mind is one of the bigger ones for me in that realm, especially given the time period that the map is set in. One is a magician, one is a cop, another is a boxer, and then the last one is a burlesque dancer in a nightclub who dreams to be a Hollywood star according to the lore. Just the way that they are introduced onto the map as well through that time period by playing to that really good jazz music that sets the tone beautifully encapsulates that map and the characters. Trust me, as someone who played in a jazz ensemble every year of high school, that music really does sit with you if you're into that kind of stuff. This was something that ultimately for me growing up I really latched onto when I played these maps, and it was something that was always kept in mind when playing with my friends as well. Every time that we would load up into one of the maps, we always tried to see who was going to play whichever character of the 4 there was. Even though you had a map like Mob of the Dead, for example, which features 4 characters who are relatively the same as each other in the sense that they come off as being mobsters and gangsters, you still always had that one friend who would become Weasel and may or may not have gotten annoyed by the fact that they had to listen to him talk all the time.
Need ammo, like yesterday. I need an ammo drop real fucking soon. I wish I could say it was fun while it lasted. Shooters are dry. If bullets were water, I'd be begging for rain. Empty. Not just my guns, everything. That's it. I'm all out. You gotta get the doc. Something ain't right, boss. I swear.
It is the little things like this that, in my opinion, really gave these maps such a great personality, but also fit into the world of what the maps were setting it up to be. At the same time, to speak on that, the maps themselves also did feel like they fit towards the characters and who they were. Again, Mob of the Dead takes place in Alcatraz prison, so it makes sense that characters like Weasel would be in there and have the personalities that they do. Seeing our Primus crew travel through to the trenches of World War I in the map Origins, or even something as big as an old German castle in Der Eisendrache in 1945, I just felt like I was in the correct time with the correct type of characters to fit that aesthetic and concept for the map. That is something that I feel is completely missing when you have operators as the people that you play as in the newer Zombies maps. They don't have a story set up for them or any personality to glean from, considering most of their lines are just them pointing out things or saying military stuff that just makes them all sound the same. At the same time, there's not a sense of wonderment that comes out from these operators. They feel like they are just there to do a regular old mission that they're used to doing, and it doesn't come off as a feeling genuine in the sense that it makes it feel like they know the situation that they are in. You know, fighting off and training zombies while killing them with a wonder weapon is just the usual that they're used to. That's why having characters makes it feel more lived in, especially for you, the player, to play as them. Because even you, like those characters, are questioning everything around you. Yeah, sure, you might know that the fact that there is a mystery box in every single map, a wonder weapon for you to use, and an Easter egg to solve, but intrinsically inside of that, there's always something new that your character comes across that even you, like them, will have the same feeling questioning what reality is. A zombie apocalypse is the reality to them, but inside of that there is those stories for the Easter eggs for you to solve all those quests and fight these bosses. You are in the same seat as them, and when they have those great personalities like many of the crews that we've come across do have, it just all makes it feel great. Even to that point of the Easter eggs, like the name implies, they are things that you might have to uncover and solve without previously knowing any details of. So many of the lines that these characters give are the exact same way you'd be going about it as if you were all trying to solve that map's Easter egg. Another area that I want to discuss with regards to what makes having characters so great in COD Zombies is the ability to introduce them so effectively as we have seen in the past with some of the crews of these maps. Of course, I think everybody will know that arguably the most famous and popular introduction of a crew of 4 characters that we have gotten was the one that we had for the map of Origins. This was the first introduction of the Primus crew, where they were basically soft rebooted into much more modified looking versions with different outfits and styles, and there was basically a lot more to them than there was with their original counterparts from the Ultimus crew in terms of story. There was never really much to the original crew, especially in a game like World at War, where for the most part it was just voice lines, but of course in a game like Black Ops 4, they were given a much bigger part in the story, as we saw with a map like the new version of 5, or Classified as it goes by, in that game where we saw them featured in a post-map cinematic. That original Origins intro cinematic on Treyarch's YouTube channel to this day is arguably maybe one of the best things that Call of Duty has ever put out in terms of a marketing video. Even though yes, it is something that in the game you see before the map starts up, they also use it as a marketing promotion to post online before the map even came out. The map came out on the 27th of August that year, but the video came out on the 20th a week earlier. I'm actually curious to know if anybody out there thinks that it would have been more beneficial to have waited till after the map came out to release it online so that you could have seen it in-game first, or if you just don't think it didn't matter. So let me know down below in the comments. I will admit, I think that seeing it in the game is a lot more better than it is online, because at least in-game you're about to go into actually playing the map versus just watching it on YouTube. Regardless, to get back to my point, this video is just so good. Just the way that it introduces our characters through their insanely badass actions of killing zombies while also playing to the music of the song Shepherd of Fire from Avenged Sevenfold is just pure perfection. It is a song that goes really nicely in with their introductions. It was also a really cool marketing push for that band, considering, as you see in the description of the video, they had released a new album of theirs on the 27th, the day of the map's release. So I tip my hat to that as somebody myself who studies marketing in graduate school right now. It is a character introduction like this that I think again are just such great ways to really get us introduced and interested in not just the map, but again these characters and their personalities of how they fight and take on zombies. Even if it is a cinematic at the end of the day, a lot of what you see on screen is not too far off from what you see in game with how they act and what they say. In a way, a lot of the voice lines of this crew really personify just how gruesome they are when they kill zombies. It doesn't matter if it's Dempsey killing with his very heavy-handed MGOA LMG, and then even with his Remington new model pistol, or Nikolai splitting zombies in half with an axe, or even Takeo doing his thing with his sword and killing zombies in such brutal and awesome fashion to really tie into his Japanese roots. Of course, we know Richtofen does his thing because after all, he is a doctor, and he's dissecting a zombie right on the table. It just goes to show that even in the trailer, you could really see who these characters were, and that just went on to translate into the map itself when you played it. Of course, this isn't the only one of the many different character introductions that we've had over the years. There have been plenty of others. The introduction of the characters on the map 5 with Kennedy and all of them, and even one as underrated in my opinion as the introduction of our characters on the Giant, where Primus Richtofen blows Ultimus Richtofen's face off, are all really great. This is also just another reason to point to why I believe that characters are such an important part of what makes COD Zombies so fun. I don't care which crew you like or which introduction of the crew that you love the most, or even to an extent dislike, you have to admit that there was something there for a person and player to really latch onto. We did really start to get more of this as each new game came out, whether it was Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 3, Advanced Warfare, or even Black Ops 4, but then after Black Ops 4 came out, it just felt like that was all lost away once operators started to come in. The new wave of giving us these military operators to play as, fighting off zombies, and now even people in something like the new Modern Warfare 3 DMC Outbreak Zombies mode just doesn't feel like the traditional form of zombies that we are used to. I totally understand that this is just a new version of what zombies is, and in a way doesn't really connect to that old original style. I can definitely fully recognize that this is just what Modern Warfare zombies would look like, and this is hopefully not what Treyarch zombies or Sledgehammer zombies could look like in the future. Even with something like Sledgehammer Games, I have to admit that they at least tried with something like Advanced Warfare zombies, where they could bring in these characters that you may or may not have liked and created a story around it for you to enjoy. I know not everybody is as high on Advanced Warfare zombies, but that was just something that I really feel gave that version of zombies a life. I really did like the Advanced Warfare their way of actually going out and bringing in some well-known actors to play the characters. It didn't matter if it was somebody like Jon Bernthal or John Malkovich. I really did like that this was the approach that they went with. It is something that Black Ops 1 did with a map like Call of the Dead, and then Black Ops 2 with Mob of the Dead, where they brought in all those well-known to lesser well-known actors to play the parts. I think sometimes that can also add levity to the characters because, after all, those are actors, and actors who are trained to play characters very well, especially if they are a good actor. Of course, characters like the ones from Premise are not played by real actors, but they are just voiced by really good and talented voice actors. It is these two different styles that I do really come to appreciate that any kind of zombies mode tried to do for their story and characters. Even with all that in mind, it still shocks me that we don't get either of the two with something like the Modern Warfare 3 zombies. I myself am somebody who is not a very big fan of what Infinite Warfare did with zombies. I thought that there was a great concept there, but in execution, it just felt like it didn't play out that well and came off as super weird and quirky. I tried to get into Spaceland zombies as much as I could, but in the end, I just didn't feel as attached to it, which led me to not even really play any of the other DLC maps. In fairness, I'll admit Modern Warfare Remastered did kind of take away all my time to play Infinite Warfare in general, and I wasn't really a fan of that game at the time anyway, so there's a reason for that. Infinite Warfare Zombies still has characters, but also it had an ability to create a story where it utilized the big personalities like Kevin Smith and David Hasselhoff. Yeah, I guess you could say that their characters are very wacky and weird, but I guess it also just played into the aesthetic of what Infinite Warfare Zombies was going for. Even if you are somebody who liked or disliked Infinite Warfare Zombies, you can't deny that it is arguably maybe the wackiest version of COD Zombies we've ever had. If you didn't like the characters, it is probably because of that reason, but maybe you did like them because it was something so new and different to give for a personality of said characters. So basically, I think you kind of understand what I'm getting at with this point. Just being able to introduce your characters so effectively before even playing the map and the game really does well for you to be able to pull people in and play it. This is one of the biggest reasons why I still come back and play those older maps. Even if I may not go back and play games like Black Ops 4 or Infinite Warfare or Advanced Warfare as much as the other game Zombies modes, I still have to appreciate when I find that those titles try to follow the same formula. It's just that their execution was not as good as games like Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 3. I'd also be genuinely curious to know if there are any people out there who prefer those three games, AW, Infinite Warfare, and BO4, for how different that they were as opposed to the more older games that came before them. I know the answer to that is probably not going to be as abundant, but again, I'm curious to know, and I'd love to see people have a conversation about it in the comments. As we come to an end in this video, I just want to make it clear that these are my thoughts and views on this subject matter, and that I am totally open to seeing if anybody has a different take on it than I do. At the end of the day, something I do want to see return in the future are characters for COD Zombies. I don't care what kinds of personalities they have, or if you make a crew that's 4 guys, 3 guys and 1 girl, 2 guys and 2 girls, 1 guy and 3 girls, or even 4 girls. It simply doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. To me, I just want to see characters return in some form or fashion that really relate to the maps that they are playing in, and can always bring a good vibe when you are playing by yourself or with your friends. That is what characters are meant to do after all. They are meant to not be just as a vessel for you to be interested in playing the map or be interested in the Easter egg and story, but they are also meant to be a vessel for you to be a part of the map in a way that maybe you didn't think of originally. There's always something new that I feel like somebody finds nowadays to really showcase how good the old days were when we did have characters in these maps. The COD Zombies community is still to this day, I think, one of the greatest forms of a video game community that has ever been seen since video games became a thing. It is crazy to me how devoted and long-lasting it is, and I would absolutely say that something like that has brought this community together to really come to play these maps that we have been accustomed to for so many years, and that is because of these characters. I think that if Zombies had never gone into that idea of utilizing characters, I simply don't think COD Zombies would be the same as it was. I feel like nowadays we are seeing that with the use of operators. If nowadays versions of COD Zombies modes with no characters is what it would have felt like back in the day, then I am really glad that we did get what we got when characters were a thing. I do hope that I didn't ramble on too much in any way during that breakdown. Again, this is a very passionate place for me to speak to, since a game like Black Ops 2 was the first one I grew up with from a mature rated perspective, even if Call of Duty 3 was my first COD game. I'm really glad that that was the one that I started with, because it got me into those characters that I mentioned already. Being on transit with the transit crew, or being a part of Origins and trying to complete those Easter eggs with my buddies as the Premise crew, was such a joy, and to this day I am forever grateful that I had gotten the opportunity to do so. Black Ops 2 is my favorite game of all time, and without it I simply do not know where I would be. Right now, I'd like to throw out some fun questions to you all for comments down below in the comment section, or for anyone who is reacting to the video to answer to. These questions go for all Zombies modes in every COD that has ever happened, for clarification. Firstly, growing up playing Zombies, were you attracted more to the characters versus the story and Easter egg, or was it vice versa? To second on that question, was there ever a time where you felt the characters stood out more than the story and the Easter egg of the map those characters were on? For example, for me, anytime I ever played the map 5, I always felt that the characters stood out more than the map, which I felt was lesser than them. No offense to 5 in any way, it's a very unique and interesting map, I just felt like the characters were just way better. And finally, as a really tough question, would you rather have grown up with all the characters that we did get from the many various crews, but had no story or Easter egg, or would you do the vice versa here and have no characters but had the story and Easter eggs? It's kind of like a question to tie back in this idea of having operators versus regular characters, but it brings a twist on it with a would you rather. Let me know your thoughts on all these down below. But I think that's where I'm going to fully end it off now. Ladies and gentlemen, I really do hope you enjoyed this video. I put a lot of time and effort into making this, and COD Zombies is a great passion for me when talking about this franchise, so I just really hope to see you all have conversations with each other down below as we have fun talking about this subject matter. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you are new here. My next goal on this channel is to reach 3,000 subscribers. If you are somebody who loves COD as much as I do, then this is the channel to be on. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all soon for another video. This is Orion, signing out.